Welcome back to another episode of Meredyth with a Y. I am your host, Meredyth Willits, and today I am talking about the war of spirit and what we are seeing right now and the greater meaning and what we're actually seeing going on in real life. So stay with me. Hello, everyone. This is Meredyth with a Y, and I am your host, Meredyth Willits. Today we are going to go deep, changing lives, and I am giving you the keys to the castle. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Today I wasn't really sure what I wanted to talk about, and then it just hit me that I should really be talking about what is the greater meaning and what is really going out in the world today. Because what we are seeing in real time is basically the war of the spirit, the war of spirit. And that's the only way that any of this makes sense. And so what you need to ask yourself is, what is going on? What is being fed? And what are we all doing? Where are we sitting in all of this? And that's a crazy question because we live our life every day here on earth, here in the three-dimensional. And so everything feels so just because we just ended up in this space. It's just happening. But there's so much more that we need to look at. Why is this happening? Who is the one that is benefiting from everything that is going on in the world? How did we get here? And if you want the answers to that, what you need to do is start looking at the patterns of what is happening. Looking at the patterns of fear or love, humanity or spirit, because that's really all that we need to look at to understand what's going on. Do you give weight to the human experience over anything else? Are you feeding into fear or are you sitting in love? And so the thing of it is we need to understand that what we're seeing in real time is fear projected through the lens of the three-dimensional and the desires that go along with the three-dimensional, meaning our human earthly lives. Okay? If we remove those things, none of this makes sense. If we remove the desire of borders and social norms, the Bible, as it was written in the Old Testament, of rules and regulations and government being the focus, or if we lean into the spiritual teaching of love one another, period. That's it. Love one another, period. If we leaned into the teachings of love one another, period, none of what you are seeing would be happening. It would be impossible. So let's go way up high. Let's take a step back and ask yourself, if we at this moment in time are focused on the Old Testament of government, of lines in the sand, in right and wrong, from a perspective of legalism, of the desire for three-dimensional rules and laws, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the Old Testament chaos, and they're spinning it with, we need to keep Israel whole because Christ is coming back. And so they're getting the evangelicals like, hey, we got to protect Israel at all cost with regard to, that's how we're going to get those votes. And there's borders, there's rules, there's government. God created government. or there's love. And if we leaned into spirit of love, of what Jesus taught, that God lives within us, that we are the temple, everything that we are seeing disappears. The fighting, the fear, it all goes away. So the people that are right now leading our countries, that are saying these people are not supposed to be here based on borders that we have drawn in the sand and all the chaos that is coming from it, all the death, all the destruction, all the fear, all the pain. Those are human things. Those are human laws. Those are human rules. And they're feeding you with it. They're feeding the beast. They're feeding with fear. And the more fear they create, the bigger the beast gets. The more real it becomes. The more visceral, the more tactile it becomes. And we need to understand that we are feeding the beast, literally, not sort of, literally, by making our focus that of human rules, human survival. And that you look at the evangelicals and they're like, this is the way it's supposed to be. Why? Because if we just listen to the teachings of Jesus, none of this would be happening. Love one another, period. Period. You have been told laws, but I say unto you, love one another, period. But they are coming in over the border. But I say unto you, love one another, period. That's it. And all this goes away. All of it goes away. The Old Testament leaned into the government and rules and sacrifice. Jesus said, love one another, period. This week has been rough for me. This week has been rough, but not in the sense that you might think. Not in the sense of people are knocking on my door like stormtroopers. This week has been rough for me, not because of the fact that my family has been arrested or I have been arrested or that I'm losing my house or that I don't have food to eat. This week has been rough for me because something was shown to me that I have never seen before but always wondered. How is the Bible one book? And I've had family members reach out to me and say, Meredyth, the things that you are talking about on social media is making my stomach sick. You and your words are making my stomach sick. Because what I'm talking about is that the God of the Old Testament is not the Father of Jesus. He said, you have never seen the Father except for through me. You have been told this, but I say unto you that. They say, do not work on the Sabbath day, but he preached on the Sabbath. The God of the Old Testament was vengeful, asked for sacrifice, created legalism. And Jesus said, love one another, period. How is that the same God if God never changes? If God never changes, that means the rules don't change. That just means that you are serving a different God. maybe the Jewish religion melded government with Greek mythology. I don't know. I haven't gone that deep yet. But what they did to the Torah and added in the additional books of the Old Testament and then put together in with the New Testament and made us believe that this was all one God, all one teaching, all one book, is the greatest destroyer of our modern world that we have ever believed. Period. Because when they preach on Sunday, they're using the Old Testament. They hold the Bible. Because let me tell you this, if they were preaching from Jesus's word, it would be love one another, period. And that's not what they're talking about. They're anti-LGBTQ. They're anti-immigrants. They're anti-Black and brown people. And Jesus said, love one another, period. They are not preaching Jesus's word. Because if they were, they would say, love one another, period. And that's not what they're saying. I had Pastor Jackson Lawmeyer on my podcast a few weeks ago, and it shifted everything about my life. I knew I was standing in front of someone that was not in alignment with Jesus, but called himself a pastor. He preached that God created the government, and he was right. The God of the Old Testament created government, but the Father of the New Testament did not. The Father of the New Testament said, by way of Jesus, the Lord is within you. You will do greater works than I. Not if then, period. Period. God, the Lord, the Father, is within you. You need to do nothing. Period. And what they preach today from the pulpit is that God is vengeful and jealous and angry. That is not a God of Jesus. That is not the person that Jesus said, you will only know him through me. John 3:16, I couldn't ever figure it out. What is John 3:16? Because when they talk about it in the stands of the stadiums with their signs, what they're talking about in the stadium is if you believe in Jesus. This is a teaching of Paul. If you believe in Jesus and take him as your savior, that he died on the cross for your sins, then you get to heaven. That was not a teaching of Jesus. That was a skewing of Paul by way of the Romans. You see? And this, what I'm telling you, is not new. This is 1900 years old. This is not a new teaching. This is not new theory. I'm not coming up with something new here. I'm just telling you we're watching it in real time. We're watching it in real time. When Jesus came and they prophesied his coming, they thought that he was going to just be like them. The Jews believed that Jesus was coming in to say, you're doing it right. Keep on keeping on. And he didn't say that. He didn't say that. He argued with the priests of the time in the synagogues or around. He didn't preach in a church. He didn't preach in a synagogue. He didn't follow their rules. He said, you're wrong. They wanted it. The Romans wanted Jesus to come down and say, yep, you're doing it right. The priests of the Jews wanted him to come down and say, yep, you're doing it right. And he didn't do that. So if the entire book of the Old Testament says Jesus is coming, the Messiah is coming, and then he shows up and says, nope. But I say unto you, love one another, period. And they said, whoa, that's not what we were expecting. We don't like that. You're not the Messiah. You're not what we wanted. You're not what we bargained for. And he said, too bad. Too bad. And so here we are. The leaders of our country want a Bible in every schoolroom. Why? Why do they want a Bible in every school in America? Because it justifies government. The way that they have written it across centuries has skewed Jesus's if then you are saved. No, that's not what he said. He said, you will only know the Father through what I'm telling you. Meaning you have never seen him before. You have never heard the Father before. I'm introducing him to him. You're serving a false God, one that works off of fear and sacrifice. That is not the same God that Jesus served the Father. And so I ask you this: who are our leaders serving? Are the leaders serving the God of the Old Testament, where they honored government and rules and sacrifice and war and righteous anger and if-then doctrine? Or are the leaders of the world serving Jesus's God, the Father? And you will have your answer if they are truly serving Jesus, where the war of spirit is landed us. God of the Old Testament or Father of Jesus. And are our leaders serving the demiurge of fear or the Spirit of the Father, the Spirit that Jesus spoke of? You don't need to do anything to get to heaven. Not a damn thing. And people don't like to hear that. People don't want to know that Trump and Hitler and all the serial killers are going to heaven. But this is the difference. This is the difference, I'm telling you. The people on earth that are doing the things that they are doing, the difference is they come back. They have to. That's the difference. They cycle over and over and over again on this earth. And maybe that's what they want, because they know how to run the system. They know how to run the system. What they say is once you make your first million, the rest of them are easy because you figured it out. The leaders of our countries are serving fear. They are serving Zeus, whatever you want to call that God. They are not serving the Spirit of the Father of Jesus. And that's what we're seeing play out in real time right now. They can call themselves pastors. They can call themselves men of God. They can call themselves Bible, whatever the hell. But all you need to do is look at the fruit. What are they making? You will not know them through their words. You will know them through what they create. That's how you will know the God that they serve. Because they will not have love in their heart. And the fruit is what they produce. If you have a tree and it produces rotten fruit, you have a rotten tree. You have a sick tree. If you have a person or a government and it produces fear and death, you know the God that they serve. And when I say the God, what they serve, who they serve, what they want me to tell you right now is what's inside of them. You will know them. You will know what's inside of them by way of what they produce, by way of what comes from them. And you'll know that they are serving a God that is different than the one that Jesus spoke of, that said, love one another, period. It's not difficult. It's not hard. Eat shrimp, go ahead. Don't wear linen, we don't care. Pay your taxes or not. But the Romans couldn't have that. The Romans couldn't have Jesus and the Father, a God, saying, you're enough. Do whatever you got to do. We don't care. The Romans went, oh shit. Oh my God. We can't have this. You need to go in and take Jesus and skew it a little bit. Even though we killed him, we're going to take his figure, what he was. He was powerful. We need to hold on to that. And the Romans decided to take Jesus as a figurehead of the church and use him to suit them. So they had to put the Bible of the Old Testament. They had to put the teachings of the Old Testament. The Roman Catholic Church had to take the teachings of the Old Testament that talked about the laws. They had to take the teachings of Jesus and say, if then you believe, then you will be saved. But Jesus didn't say that. He said, God is within you, just like me. You will do greater things than I. You just have to have the faith of a mustard seed. We are in the war of spirit, but we're seeing it play out through humanity. That's what we're seeing. All this anger on the streets, all this fear that they are spreading, they feed off of it. It's food, just like it was back then. Are you jealous of yourself? No. And neither is the Father. He's like, go live your great life. But God is jealous and vengeful. No war was ever started because of loving one another. It was started over borders and control and money and jealousy and fear. What we're seeing in Minnesota right now is not because people are loving one another. What we're seeing in Minnesota is fear. It is the God of the Old Testament. Bomb them all, kill them all, arrest them all, send them back, separate parents from their children, keep people in isolation. Don't investigate a murder. That's not loving one another. That's not justice. That's hatred. That's fear. You will know them. You will know their heart by their fruit, by what they do, by what they say, by what they bring to you. That's not love in their heart. That's not the teachings of Jesus. And we're seeing it in real time. And that's why I've had a tough week. Because although I've always raised an eyebrow at the Bible, didn't make sense. But wait a minute, they're prophesizing the coming of Jesus, so okay, maybe it's the same book. Okay, maybe they were just doing things wrong. No, they were serving a God. The Jews were serving a God. Now, when you look at the Torah, this is what we need to understand. The Torah was a set of ways to live. It's about the first 5 books of the Bible. The rest of it, that's a little different. That's an add-on. So we sort of have 3 books. We have the Torah, we have the Old Testament, and we have the New Testament, which has been skewed. Books have been hidden. Things have been added to help the Romans. When you read the Bible, what you're reading is the Romans' view. The very people who killed Jesus. The very people that feared him. Why would they take his teachings if they feared him? Love one another, period. Not good enough for government. Government doesn't like that. Religion is the right hand of the government, period. They use it to get votes. They use it to control. They use it to manipulate. Because people want to feel like they're doing the right thing. People want to believe that they are good. People want to believe that the things that they stand for are in alignment with the right thing. No one's out here doing what they're doing because they think that they're doing the wrong thing. They have a cause. They believe in the cause. They think it's the right cause. But they need to understand that their cause is backed up and justified by the wrong thing. Most don't even realize that they're feeding into fear. I made a post recently. I actually reposted how they said that Renee Good actually had a pulse when EMS got there finally. And people were saying in my DMs, too bad. She asked for it. Have you seen, Meredyth, all the people murdered by immigrants? So that justifies all of this? For a few bad apples, you're going to take down an entire country. You're going to implement the Insurrection Act. You're working towards martial law. You're going to send in Marines into our states against our own people. Look at their fruits. Then you'll know what's inside of them. Hatred, anger, vengeance. Sounds like the God of the Old Testament to me. And that's not even getting in to the Epstein files. What you're seeing with the Epstein files is part and parcel to what we saw with Diddy. Have a party, make a complete debauchery, record it, use it for blackmail. Oldest trick in the book. The dumbest people in the world fall for it. That's what we're seeing in the Epstein files. Debauchery, recorded, blackmail. And I'm here to tell you, if you haven't gone on Substack to listen to the Sasha Riley files, you should. You should. That is the work of hatred and fear, destruction. You will know them by their fruit. These people do not care about loving one another. They care about control, power, manipulation, and they feed that by the demiurge of fear. That's what we're seeing. Call it Satan, call it the devil, call it whatever you want, but it is not the God of love. It is not the Father Jesus spoke of. He told them, "You have never seen or heard the Father." How can you never see or hear the Father if Jews have been practicing forever? If Jesus was saying, "Look, same God, you just, whatever." He's saying, "You've never heard him before. You've never seen him. This is a new guy. You guys have no new energy in town." And the Jews said, "No, thank you." The leaders of today are playing by a playbook called the Bible, and they have to have all of that in there to justify their actions. We are literally seeing the war of spirit play out in real time on our planet. I'm not being funny. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not being woo woo. I'm telling you what we're looking at. Because when you don't understand, how much power do they need? How much money do they need? It's not about that. And then they say they want to conquer all of the Americas, Canada, Mexico, Greenland. Why? Why would they want to do that? Seems to me we would put everyone on one money source. Canada has different money than Mexico has different money. Then we can get all of the natural resources, and then everyone can be on crypto. What do you do with people that are on crypto? You can control them. Look what just happened in Iran. They shut off Starlink for hours. Look what just happened with Verizon, shut down for 5 hours the other day. When everyone is on digital, everything, and they control the entire Western hemisphere through money, they can shut it off. Look what they're doing now. I think it was even, they said, comply or die. Comply or die. Does that sound like someone that wants the Bible in every classroom? Comply or die. That sounds authoritarian to me. That doesn't sound like the freedom of America, where we can have peaceful protests, record, say what we want to say without being beat up. You will know them by their fruit. Look at what's going on and ask yourself, who are they serving? What are they serving? What lives inside of them? How do they speak to people? What are they saying? Who are they hating this week? And then you will know the God that lives within them, the one that they serve. It's that simple, people. This isn't my opinion. This isn't my opinion. And I never saw it until this week so clearly, as when I realized the God of the Old Testament is not the same as the New Testament. And then all of a sudden it became perfectly clear. Why does Israel send so much AIPAC money to the American leadership? Millions of dollars. Why? Why do they want us all on the same page? You got to ask yourself these questions. What is in them and what is coming out of them? Then you will know who they are. They can hold Bibles up till the cows come home. They can have everyone praying over Donald Trump in the Oval Office. I do not give a shit. They can say he's the broken second coming, but I think they called him Cyrus or something. You can call him whatever you want. I know what lives inside of him. When you're calling women reporters piggy, telling people to shut up, calling people immigrants names, then you know who they are. You know who they serve. You know their focus. You will know them by their fruit. That's what we're watching right now. I'm not being cute. I'm not being funny. I'm not being woo-woo. This is what we're watching. I guess on the 25th, we're supposed to have some Jupiter, Neptune, 0 degrees return. And I'm not a big, I don't know much about, what do you call that? Astronomy, astrology, but I know it's real. Why do I know it's real? Because all you have to do is look at the moon and the tides. All you have to do is show me what's going on when we're in a retrograde, and I'll show you reality. The planets represent aspects of life. The planets represent and switch and change aspects of self. They are real. Their movement affects us as humans, pulling in and out, shifting, adjusting, movement of reality, weaknesses and strengths. And that's what we're seeing. We're being given another chance at this thing called Earth. It happened back when Jesus was on the planet. It happened during Germany with Nazis. And I remember, do we all remember being in school going, why didn't they do anything? How did everyone just sit around and let all those people be treated like that? This is how. This is how. The government justified it. The government created fear. The government said, those other people over there. And everyone went, oh, okay, makes sense. They're trying to destroy Germany. They're trying to destroy Germany. Get rid of them. The immigrants are trying to destroy the United States. Get rid of them. Those people over there. And it's easy to understand that when you're sitting in school going, why didn't they do anything? But here it is, all over again, on our doorstep. And we're given an opportunity. Why aren't we doing anything? No, that's because 30-40% of Americans go, those people, they're ruining America. They're taking all our services and our jobs because the government has instilled the fear of the other. And it makes sense. Even though 99.9% of people will never, ever be affected by an immigrant taking their job, ever. Are we better off today than we were before? No. A pound of ground beef is, you have to work a whole hour of minimum wage to buy a hamburger. Go to McDonald's, it's $20. People, 22 million less people signed up for health insurance. 22 million people can't afford to buy health insurance right now that used to be on it. That's how many less signups for health insurance. Where do you think those people are going to go? They're going to go to the emergency room. They'll still get care. It will just be shitty. It won't be follow-up. It won't be preventative. It will be emergency room care. It will be the sickest of the sick. They're still going. You're still paying for it. It's just going to be less. And it's all because of fear. Because our country was talked into the same thing that Hitler talked his country into. Those Jews, those immigrants, same verbiage, different groups. Be afraid. They're coming to get you. They're destroying our country. Okay. Do what it takes. Go door to door. Okay. Makes sense. Only migrants I've ever ran into were in Michigan, picking vegetables and berries. Lovely people, hard workers. Dead of July in a field, picking fruits and vegetables. Okay. Paying into Social Security yet receiving none. Okay. But these folks, they sit around and they listen to the leader, Donald Trump, spewing hate. And it makes sense. They love it. Okay. And these folks are pious. They are God-fearing. But they're like, hey, he said it. He must be right. Look at, they're praying over him in the Oval Office. The evangelicals like him, so I'm going to get on his side. I'm going to get on the side of the guy that makes sense to my life, that I've had a bad life, or I want my taxes lower. Those are the two. Those are your two choices. That's what we're seeing in real time, people. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, they won't win. They're not going to win. You know why? Because the very thing that they're doing right now is going to be what destroys them, just like it destroyed Hitler. The very thing. They should have just left things the way they were. They had all the money. They had all the power. They could do whatever the hell that they wanted to do. But they got greedy. The leaders are getting greedy. Diddy got greedy. Epstein got greedy. They got sloppy. And so now what we're seeing is they're fighting to hold on to power. You're seeing them fight, scratching and clawing to get more and more and more. And it will be the thing that destroys them. I've talked about it here before. My husband's boss would say, pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered, and they are becoming hogs. Too much greed. And this will be what destroys them. They should have just let us watch our football games. They should have just let us go to work every day, work 40, 50 hours a week. Nope, they couldn't do it. They wanted it all, and hogs get slaughtered. The very money grab, the very fear grab, the hot power grab is what will do them in. Because when you shoot someone that looks like Renee Good, it makes people that look like me nervous. You see, when you're a white supremacist, which most people are racist in some way, there's separation. We've been watching the news since we've been young, watching all of the black and brown people on the news every night, infiltrating our brains to believe that they're the bad ones. And so if a couple of them get shot, so be it. They probably did something wrong. So there's a separation between I'm one of the good guys. I'm one of the good guys. Nothing's going to happen to me. And so when you see someone like Renee Good get shot, who was cheerful to the ICE officer, and she gets killed anyways, well, that's a problem for us white folk. We don't like that. You see? And so now they're trying to spin it, well, she was a lesbian. She was a radical leftist. And so it still won't be me. I'm still safe because I just have to comply. You see? As long as you comply, as long as you don't speak with an accent, as long as you don't have brown skin. And that's how I know it's coming for the rest of us. Because you see, this is the great leveler. That's what we're watching. We're leveling the playing field. Because a nation cannot survive with racism, systemic racism, hatred. And although we believe that racism, many, is over and color is not an issue, it is. It is. You can't let people starve, suffer, be arrested at improportionate, I think that's the word, numbers, go to prison, and have a thriving country. See, we've been broken for a long time. We've been broken for a long time. And what we're seeing is they're shooting white people now. Yeah. Can't have that. But she was a lesbian. She was a radical leftist. But I promise you, it's just a matter of time before the others get involved, before the others get trapped in the line of fire. Because that's what has to happen next when you have a spiritual warfare. When you see what we're seeing out there right now, everyone has to suffer. Everyone will suffer. Because that's what happens when you serve a false god of vengeance, of jealousy, of power, and of fear. Y'all have to get affected somehow. It's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of how and to whom. You see, we can't survive this way anymore. You can't have trillionaires, billionaires, multimillionaires, and the starving. Because the starving people need to buy cars too. They need to go to hotels and Disney World. It's become disproportionate. It's become too broken. This will affect everyone. You can say that she drove her car at him. You can say she was a threat. You can say whatever you want to make yourself feel better because you would have complied. The problem with complying right now is you disappear for a month. The problem with complying right now is you get hurt. The problem right now with getting out of the car is God only knows what's going to happen to you. People aren't complying because they end up in a building for weeks or months at a time. She drove away. She got out of there. Her wheels were turned. But if it makes you feel safe, to believe that she drove at him, even though you can see her wheel turned. You can see that she didn't hit him. His arm was on the car and he slid on ice. He didn't go to the hospital. He didn't have internal bleeding, but comply or die. You're one of the good ones. This wouldn't happen to you, right? You wouldn't have put yourself in that situation. So what about the van with the parents and the 6 kids, one of which was a 6-month-old baby who they threw a flashbang at their van, filled their van with smoke, and all that they were trying to do was get out of the neighborhood and keep their kids safe? What about them? Did they not comply? ICE agents told them to get out of here, and the dad said, I can't. There's people. I'll hit them. And they threw flashbangs at their car filled with 6 children. The 6-month-old stopped breathing almost. Actually, the baby might have stopped breathing. They had to give him CPR. Did they not comply? Did they try to kill the ICE officers fleeing the area for fear of what was going on there? They weren't doing anything wrong. They weren't following ICE agents. They were trying to go away. They were trying to get away from the chaos. And they threw flashbangs at their van. They complied. They complied. And their van filled with smoke. Their van filled with chemical agents. I'm telling you, it's going to affect every one of you. Things like this just don't happen without affecting all. She didn't drive her car at him. Her wheels were turned, and if you can't see that, that is blind because you are blinded by your cult leader. You are blinded by your news source. And it's sad. She was driving away. Look at the fruit. Look what they have done. Look at the God that lives within them, and you will know who they are. This isn't just a war on earth. This isn't just a war in America. This isn't just a war in Minnesota. It goes deeper than that. But if it makes you feel better, go ahead. People will make this about what they want to make it about. They are justified in their minds. Kill as many people as possible. Take them away from their children. Lead their kids away in handcuffs. Throw flashbangs at vans filled with children. Shoot women in the face. Coming to a theater near you. This won't end well, but it will end the way it needs to. Rome fell from within, and we're doing the same thing. We're doing the exact same thing. I hope everyone has an amazing week. Happy Martin Luther King Day. They loved Martin Luther King. You know why? Because he wasn't Malcolm X. Remember that. They welcomed Martin Luther King because he spoke of peace. And if you think for 1 minute that we're going to get our country back through peace, you've got another thing coming. God bless each and every one of you that you can look around with discernment by their fruit and know the God that they serve. See you next week.
Thanks for listening. If you would like to connect on a more personal level, head over to meredythwillits.com or on Instagram at Meredyth with a Y for behind-the-scene footage and outtakes. Please subscribe and come back each week for more Meredyth with a Y. Thanks again for